Hi there, welcome to FMCG by Alex. My name is Alex, and today I would like to talk to you about cracking the Horeca channel. So, how to get into the Horeca channel and really get some success for your brand. So, the Horeca channel can actually be a hidden gold mine. If you are looking at the first days of your brand or the first steps of your brand, you are trying to get into retail, you are competing with a lot of big players, a lot of other brands, limited shelf space. It's basically a battle for shelf space that you are engaging in. Then you can apply the Horeca first strategy. There are a lot of big brands also that use the Horeca first strategy, so they became big because of it. But retail normally is a battle where you can actually say, hey, what is your traction? What have you sold so far? Now, retail can be like online traction actually can be converted into let's get into retail, or Horeca traction could actually you into retail. So the Horeca first strategy is actually quite successful. There's a lot of successful examples. For example, Fever Tree, that's a beverage brand, and mostly beverage brands in this example, but there are also other brands that could work out. I'll go into that in a moment. So you have Fever Tree, European basically. Then you have, of course, a clear premium water. That's an Indian brand. Actually, they increased their number of Horeca outlets from 90 to 1600. Just to give you the impression that 50% of their sales comes from Horeca. And then Bionade, which is a German brand, which also was very successful in Horeca, and then actually conquered retail afterwards. So all these brands are, of course, retail brands, but started out in Horeca and got the traction in Horeca. Now, why is Horeca a hidden gold mine? Of course, you have a captive audience, so people are there. You are there to enjoy yourself. You don't look, especially at price. So you're out for a day, you are going to eat and drink somewhere. Then, oh, hey, this is nice. Let me try this. People are more in the mood to try something new as well. And of course, it's often ignored by other FMCG brands. So other brands actually, are doing what they're taught to do, which is retail. If I have to say, like, I've worked for several very large companies where Horeca was, basically a channel for us, but not really a focus channel, basically. So while actually the opportunity was there, it's just that once you're in, you're also the brand of choice. When you're not in, you're not selling anything, obviously. So usually it's only one brand that could get in. For example, for milk, where I work now, and we were having bad luck, of course, that. The owner of the Horeca brand of choice in Indonesia was Diamond. Diamond is part of Sukanda Jaya. Sukanda Jaya is the largest Horeca distributor in Indonesia. So they also are a very good example of how you conquered the channel actually by doing Horeca first. So for them, it was more a service product. So actually, they have, you open a restaurant, you invite that company, and they actually are sorting you out from A to Z, was absolutely brilliant. So they can also control pricing. If you basically are looking at a lower price for milk, fine, but then they can charge you a little bit more for other items, just to, like, the mixed margin strategy they can completely apply. If you are actually going out for with one product, then the problem is, of course, that that one product needs to actually bring in the margin. So that's actually the point with regards to the success of a larger player like that. But normally you could actually get some success in Horeca with regards to at least one product that you are supplying. Now, it can be beverages. Beverages, of course, are direct consumption. You have, of course, condiment sauces. Bakery can also be baked goods, basically, like anything baked, can be cookies as well. Um, Dairy products, like I mentioned, but can be yogurt as well. Protein, so meat, any protein product, basically can be fish as well. Then ready to eat, anything ready to eat that could possibly be a Horeca product. So, for example, instant noodles in markets where instant noodles are actually served in middle low Horeca, basically. Now, Indomie in Indonesia has been very successful with that, but there are also ready to eat products, or ready to heat products, and ready to cook products. Basically, during COVID, some of these restaurants were unable to really serve fresh food, so they were unable to really cook on the spot. So they had a ready to eat, or ready to heat, or ready to cook solution where hygiene was number one, where Practicality may be number two, but I mean, these were also the openings for a lot of these brands actually to get into Horeca. And of course, finally, cleaning products, because cleaning products would also be products that you could sell quite a lot to Horeca in various forms. So challenges are, of course, it's a fragmented market. So you have, basically, it's a bit like traditional trade where you are having larger restaurant chains, which would be equivalent to modern trade, where key accounts, national key accounts, that sort of thing. They have probably also higher standards. They command volume. Maybe price is very important. Then, of course, you have a lot of smaller fragment, like one and twos, basically one single restaurants, basically, where and hotels also are a part of this, where it's just a bit of a headache if you have to do it all by yourself to manage all these accounts. It can be a plus and a minus, though. So if you look at a fragmented market, which is also the reason why a lot of other FMCG brands are actually ignoring this, meaning if you are going to this one-stop shop, oh, I want to list it in a chain of 1,000 stores in one go. Everybody wants to do that, and then it becomes a matter of who has the deepest pockets to actually get the deal. Can spend the most budget, the most time, the most people. Also, the best margin, probably. If you are looking at the smaller, fragmented stores, basically, that is your entry point, because nobody else wants to do it. Someone has to do it, therefore, you do it. That is actually where your opportunity lies if you are starting from zero in Horeca. Then the downside of it can be that payment terms can be long, so doesn't mean that every Horeca outlet is paying late or paying slow, but yeah, currently still after COVID, it's still actually the after effect of COVID. A lot of these companies have a problem with the subsidies that they got from the government, especially in the Netherlands. I've seen this, that there are people who are still paying off the let's say the COVID subsidies, basically the COVID money, COVID loans, so to speak. And then of course cash flow can be constrained. So normally this is a bit of an up and down. So maybe it's seasonal. If you look at the summer, for example, in the Netherlands, Horeca is abundant, so you have a lot of consumption, and maybe other seasons actually it's less. Maybe the turnover is less. The sales are less, basically. So what also can be a constraint is that it's consignment based. So that means that consignment basically means that you put products into the outlets, and if it's sold, you get paid. So at the end of the month, they tally up what is sold. And then they pay you for what's sold. For what is not sold, you don't get any money yet, because that's carried over to the next month, and maybe you replenish whatever is not there. So in the end, that's also a way you do get paid, but then you still have a stock risk. You have stock that is not paid in the market. Then basically Horeca outlets are more focused on the customer experience, so they less push brands. So if you look at the investment you need to make, for example, for yourself to get into Horeca outlet, let's say you are listing your beverage in a restaurant. There is a menu. That menu is printed at the start of the year or whatever time they print it. If you want to add something to the menu, they need to reprint the menu. So you see normally there is like an insert, or there is what they call a tent card, which is like a card that has basically a tent shape, so like a triangle form, so to speak. Those can actually be on the table, and they alert customers like, oh, this product is sold here. Beverage ABC is here, basically. So in the end, this is one of the investments you need to make, because if you don't put it on the table, if you don't put it into the menu, so menu, like, okay, you need to just pay for reprinting the menu. Then the problem is actually that nobody knows that your product is sold there. So if you don't have any way of letting customers know, like even a poster in the window saying, hey, sold here, for example. That's the reason why Coca-Cola is actually very active with Pepsi as well, for branding the various outlets that they are supplying, same as all the beer brands. Heineken in the Netherlands, for example, you have a number of. In Indonesia, for example, you have this Tepucuk Harum, which is very much aggressive in the branding of outlets. There are various examples where even also coffee places are actually being branded with regards to that. So all these things are part of trying to make it easier for customers to actually make the decision. Part of it is, of course, also the training of the people that are selling it. Sometimes you have some sort of competition or a bonus or something, but you see already it becomes very much a very complicated and cumbersome process to actually get these people to focus on your product. So um, uh, for example, when I was in a beer company in Indonesia, I had the challenge that we had our product in certain outlets, but we were selling very little because the staff didn't know the difference between a craft beer and a normal beer. So they were saying like, okay, I can't explain it to my customers. Therefore, that's a training thing basically where you also teach your staff how to pour the product properly, how to present the product, how to explain what is the taste like. Especially if you have never tasted it yourself, it's a problem of obviously. Like there are people who maybe sell it, but they don't like it or they don't taste it themselves. That was one of the things that we also did, of course, trying to give people samples in outlets. Okay, this is what my beverage tastes like. I used to sell an energy drink. I did the same thing basically. That energy drink is something you also give samples, lavishly give samples in the beginning. So that is something that you just need to bite through and invest in, so to speak. So because otherwise they're just not focused on selling your brand basically. And then, of course, you have the choice between direct versus using distributors and wholesalers. Now, direct, like I mentioned, gives you very much an advantage of going directly to outlets or directly to interact with the owners, get feedback. Now, in the beginning, when you are starting with one, two, three, five, four, five outlets, basically, you still can manage it in your own home area. Basically, yeah, you have let's say you launch a kombucha brand and you do that, and that is actually where you need to be, Horeca. And as soon as you get bigger, so you need to cover a bigger area, you need to cover more outlets. So you don't have the manpower yourself, you don't have the budget also to hire people. Then you need to give a margin to the distributors and wholesalers to actually push your product, so to actually stock your product and push it into these outlets. Now, for example, there are markets where wholesalers and distributors are passive. So let's say the Netherlands as a place where wholesalers, they do have salespeople, but it's more like order takers. And what you need is order makers. So people who are also pushing in new brands and new products, basically. The thing is with wholesalers, of course, they have 1,001 products, or maybe even 10,001 products. So to constantly go over it. They just need to get through the day and get everybody sorted out with what they want. So to focus on something new, that is also something you can't really ask or expect from people. So uh, what we've seen so far from an active sales force, even from an active sales force, if you look at uh, they can handle between 4 and 7 products for Horeca. So if you look at so a basic salesman can actually handle no, let's say 3, 4, maybe not even 4, but 3 to 7, so 4 to 7. They should be able to handle. So the good salespeople can probably handle 7 products that they are able to really push into various places. If you are adding more products, or someone with a catalog of 1,000 products, yeah, they don't know where to start, and you go halfway through the catalog, the buyer will say like, okay, I'm done, I've already bought so much from you, I don't need to see what is coming after the letter M in the catalog. Now if your company starts with Z, yeah, you have a problem, so to speak. um, but using distributors and wholesalers, of course, is the way to scale. It's just that you, again, need to train these people. You need to support them. You need to look at more as a passive, even for the active distributors and wholesalers in countries. You need to have your own sales force. You need to have your own push into the market. You need to have your own programs, basically, in order to get it going. And uh, then one point I would like to make is, of course, you have premium versus price sensitive. So premium brands, of course, are more likely to succeed in Horeca. Why is that? Because pricing is something that is less important in Horeca. If you go out for lunch or dinner, the issue is that you're not really looking at the price of what actually something costs. Huh? So if you go into retail, you might not, but most people do. So that's the thing with price sensitive products. Actually, retail, the price becomes a little bit more relevant. In Horeca, you have mainly a margin thing where your price, maybe times two, is actually what the Horeca is going to apply. So then you have different decision makers. So sometimes when you have something that is sold to Horeca, then maybe the chef is actually someone who is the decision maker rather than a buyer. So the purchasing manager is actually something who just does the administrative part. The chef is deciding whether this fits with, or the owner of the restaurant is the one who decides whether this fits with, the brand image, etc. If your brand actually suits them, if they're, let's say, about healthy food, for example, and you have a product that is healthy, now then that might be a good fit. If not, then yeah, might not. So that is the decision that is made by different people in retail. So retail buyer is simply the same person as a buyer, makes the decision, and they have a number of different criteria actually to do that. Price is usually not one of them in Horeca, although of course there are more price sensitive buyers there as well. Now, like I said, it's margin driven, so not really shelf space driven. So if you look at retail, they say, okay, does this add something to my offering? So the same as Horeca actually, but in retail, it's like, will I sell more orange juice if I add one more brand of orange juice? So the entire category, will it actually expand? So because do I need to put this in and I need to maybe take one brand out because my shop is not made of elastic? Yeah. So then Horeca is more about whether it fits, whether you actually have another brand on. It's also a space thing, of course. If there needs to be chilled or something like that, you have, of course, an issue with space. But in general, that's not so much the issue as in retail. I'm not saying it's never the issue, but it's not so much the issue. Like a friend of mine actually once mentioned, like, I would love to have your products in my two restaurants, but I just don't have the space. I just have my entire chillers are full with craft beer. No, then you just can't really add one more. So he said, of course, adding one more is not a problem. It's just, where do I store it? Because if it's not chilled, the experience is that it's not really appreciated. It should be chilled. It should be stored properly, basically. Then margins, of course, like I said, they are probably looking at maybe doubling up. Margins in Horeca are huge, basically, because they have to. Like from every dollar, probably like 70, 75 cents have to go back to the Horeca owner. So in the end, you're looking at maybe even food costs can be like 20, 30%, maybe 20% even as a maximum. And I've even heard 15% at some point. So which means that they need to mark up the price quite heavily in order to sell your product. Now, um, that's never really the issue as long as they put it, they place it into their outlet, basically. Then you are, of course, also selling it, and they are normally it's a captive audience, like I mentioned. But yeah, be aware of the fact that also, if you also sell into retail, that the thing with Horeca can be a bit of a tricky thing with pricing. So, if in retail your product sells for, let's say, $2, and in Horeca they have to buy it for $5, yeah, you know, the comparison is there. So that is also why Horeca owners are not that keen on products that are having a very broad retail presence, unless you're talking about something like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, of course, which is also supported very well with marketing, and they can't go without. So that's in the end also it. So if you don't sell it, if you don't sell a cola, either Pepsi or Coca-Cola, yeah, then people can't order a beverage that is probably one of the most popular ones. So that's the thing. Then last but certainly not least, we're talking about adjusting your packaging. So Your instinct might tell you to go bulk, so meaning like increase the size of your packaging. But in some cases, the single serve portions are also quite good, because if you look at Horeca, let's say you have something that has a serving of 10 in one packaging for one pack. And someone opens it up to take out one serving, you have 9 servings left. How long till after you open it, it becomes a problem. Usually have that with wine also, bottles of wine. I'm not a wine drinker myself, but let's say wine. So have heard from experts telling me that wine is actually something that if you open the bottle, it needs to be drunk the same day. So if you don't have enough customers to finish that entire bottle of wine with so many glasses, basically, yeah, then you basically have yeah, waste. So you have to throw away the rest because you can't serve it to anyone who knows what they're talking about with regards to wine, who will taste that. It's not going to work in that case. Um, so sometimes portions are better, and in some cases they prefer bulk if it's able to stay longer, basically. Um, of course, larger packaging is usually cheaper. If you're talking about smaller packaging, yeah, of course it becomes more expensive because most of the cost of the product will be the packaging. The packaging will be essentially will be going up. Then step by step, how to get started. So basically, I would say create a tailored product offering. So basically, you look at what do these Horeca outlets need. So is it indeed larger packaging, smaller packaging? What kind of packaging do they need? That's the thing. So you're talking about also designing the margin structure for basically retail versus Horeca. So you need to do it both for retail and Horeca at the same time. So these two margin structures are different, and you need to have them. So if you are uh, applying your Horeca margin structure to retail, namely, you will have a problem later on when people are comparing prices. So that's the thing. So and tailoring the product offering is part of that. So if you talk about retail, you can actually have different types of packaging than in Horeca. So you have normally a lot of products have Horeca packaging. Um, and yeah, you need to also look at how to design your value proposition. So how to sell this. So Horeca, normally you will have a way of explaining it to them, like, look, this is the cost per serving, or this is, like calories per serving, or whatever is important to these guys. If it's a health conscious product, health conscious restaurant, for example. So you need to basically look at what is important for these different buyers, basically in this case. And as soon as you go into retail, yeah, of course you have a you need to come with a different strategy, different offering, basically for retail than for Horeca. Then you can start. If you start from zero, you actually need to start with a local market test you can control. So let's say if this type of outlet is actually something you think is working for your product, then test it. Better to test it in a few outlets than rolling it out nationally without having proof of concept. If you do a market test, you can control, you can actually verify the data, and then use that data to actually tweak the offering and roll it out to more outlets. So as soon as you are reaching a certain point where you say, okay, I can't do it anymore with my own resources, by myself or with my own team, then you need to move to specialist distributors and wholesalers after you get traction. So normally, if you are a large FMCG company or a medium to large FMCG company and you already have a distributor for retail, these are not the guys that go to Horeca. So it could be there are some distributors that do it very well with regards to both channels. But let's say I gave Sukanda Jaya as an example in Indonesia. Now that's a company that really distributes quite. How you say, it's quite well to modern trade and also to Horeca. So Horeca, they're probably the best in Indonesia, if I have to say. And with regards to retail, they actually cover all of the national modern retailers, basically. So traditional retail, they are also present, but not as focused on that channel. So they need probably third-party distributors, other distributors, specialist distributors for that channel again. So having said that, if you want to go into all channels, so you know, Horeca, modern trade, traditional trade, then Horeca, modern trades, for example, Sukanda Jaya would have you covered, but traditional trade you would need someone else. Well, and vice versa. Yeah, if you look at traditional trades and you go into Horeca and modern trade, now then you need to basically look at a different distributor than what you're using at this moment. Now, for other markets, of course, these structures are a bit different as well. But you're looking at in the Netherlands, for example, you have wholesalers that are purely Horeca wholesalers, so they only go to Horeca; they don't sell to any retailers. And you have, of course, pure retail because the processes are completely different. The times of the day to meet the buyer are completely different. Try and walk into a Horeca outlet during lunchtime and try and sell something. They will kick you out of the store right away because they're so busy with all of the processes inside of the Horeca outlet. So, as serving customers, that is actually the most important thing. So, you need to time it in a different way, and that is something that normally retail and Horeca doesn't match in that sense. So, they have different times, different drum beats, so to speak. So, and of course, what it's all about is you actually build volume. So volume can be good. If you say I'm pure Horeca brand, can also be, of course, but you can use it as a stepping stone to retail, where you actually say, look, I've sold so much in Horeca. Now I actually have this data and this volume that I can actually go to retail and offer my products. Look, I'm selling into 1,000 restaurants. Would you like to also sell my product in this retail chain? Now, pretty sure that will turn some heads and garner some interest from various retailers. That's the way to get started. I've done this several times, so if you need any advice, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, please like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to send me an email, alex@devriessalesconsultancy.com, also our website, of course, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help.